Masechet Avodah Zarah Daf Chaf Amud Aleph, 12 lines down. The last thing we mentioned was those three explanations what the words Lo Tihunim means. One of them was teaching you that you can't give a gift to a goy for free. When Hinam Gufa Tanaim, we say that giving a gift to a goy for free is a Mahloket Tanaim. The Tanya Rebbe says Lo Tochilu Kol Nevela Lager Asher B'Sharecha Titnenna B'Achalaha O Machor Lenochri. You shouldn't eat any nevela. Give it to a ger, which is referring to a ger toshav, a goy who's living amongst you, who's keeping Shiva Mitzvah Noah. Or you could sell it to a goy. So, seemingly, I can only give it as a gift to a ger. Remember, not real ger, but a ger toshav. Or selling it to a goy. Leger mechinan. How can I know that I can? How do I know that I could sell it to the ger? You could do either or. I know that I can give it for free to the goy. You have two options. That's how he learns it. He says that the way we're explaining the pasuk is it's not exclusive to what we said in the pasuk of giving to the ger and selling to the goy, but rather both the ger and the goy ben etina ben mechira, you could give it or sell it. Divrei ben Meir, it's going to Reb Meir. Rabbi Yehuda says no. Dvarim Shetaman, you have to read the pasukim exactly how it's written, and therefore lager betina, you can only give it as a gift to the ger. L'arach mechira, you have to sell it to the goy. You can't give it to the goy. You see from here, Machoket. The Gemara says Shapir Kamar Rabbi Yehuda. Now 1 second. Rabbi Meir explained the pasuk well. How does Rabbi Yehuda explain that? Rabbi says, I'll explain it to you very simply. East of the Rabbi Meir, if you want to tell me that the way Rabbi Meir said that Pasuk is referring to you could do either or to both, give or sell to both, Rabbi Yehuda said I don't like that. That's what Rahmanat Titinena B'Achala Umachor. The Pasuk should have written clearly, give it or eat it and sell it. Olam Ali, why is mentioned or by each one? Shema Meir teach you the Dvarim Tiktaban Hudat must be teaching you specifically the way it's written, and that you can give it to the goy, to the ger, and sell it to the goy only. Remeir says, the reason why I mentioned it is why not to teach you that you can only sell it to the goy and not give it to him, but rather it's better to give it as a gift to the ger because he is closer to you. Rather than better than that than selling it to the goy because you gain more by giving it to a ger toshav. Rabbi Yehuda, what does Rabbi Yehuda say? Since the Torah says you're supposed to help a ger toshav already, we already know there's a mitzvah for that. And there's no mitzvah to sustain and help a goy. Lakdim lo tzarich kla, the pasuk does not teach you again special preferences. Okay. Another thing we mentioned is that you can't praise them. Where I said, the Rav proof according to Rav, the man Rav says, Rav says that's why it's a proof to Rav. Rav also says you can't just say, oh, how beautiful is this goya, this goy lady. ماشي في question معصب بالشباك one time drunk was شيء على قبي معلق بعد بعيد he was next to هذا بعيد برأى عبادة كوكبين أحد نأى بيوتيري so a goya a female goy that was extremely beautiful أمر مر أبو معساخ Hashem and he praised her he said wow Hashem look how amazing your work is بعرف بكيفا also ربع كيفا رأى إيش تورنيفوس رشا he saw the wife of Turnirufus the Rasha and he was the governor of Rome from the governor of Israel from Rome. And Rak Sahak Ubacha, when he saw her, he spat, he laughed, and he cried. Rak Shahita Ba'am Tipasirucha, he spat because he tried to remember that what she came from a drop. Like every other human comes from a drop from intimacy with the parents. He's trying to make her disgusting in his mind so he doesn't think anything of her because she was beautiful. Sahak, he laughed. Datida he knew that eventually that you'd actually convert to being a Jew, and then he would marry her. All right, then the Gemara elsewhere says, mentions that when Rabbi Akiva used to debate Caesar and he debate Turnus Rufus in front of Caesar, and he always used to beat him. And his wife one time came over to him and said, "What's?" He tried to seduce him to cause him to fail, but this is when he spat and laughed, and he explained why he cried and spat. He spat because he said you come from a drop. And then we're going to say now, Bacha, he cried, he cried, think that such beautiful one day just be in the dirt after she passes away. But when he didn't tell her the third reason why he laughed because he married her, because what happened was when he explained this to her, she asked him, "Can I do teshuvah?" He said yes. She converted and he ended up marrying her. They're very okay, fine. Regardless, we see from the Rashbag, praise the Goya. Mar says, the Rav, how does Rav say solve this? Oh, you can't praise the Goya. He says simple. Odu lehu dekamode. He was praising Hashem for giving beauty. Amar, like the rabbi says, Haroeh beriot tovot omar. Whoever sees beautiful creations, he says, Baruch shekacha bara ba'olamo. Blessed are you, Hashem, who created this beauty in this world. Therefore, he praised Hashem. He wasn't praising the woman herself. Okay. How can you look at the beauty of woman? I might have a question. You should be careful of all evil things. You should not look at a beautiful woman even if she's single. You definitely cannot look at a married woman even if she's ugly. Will cause bad thoughts or bad problems. Below the they say not upon the cover, don't look at the colorful clothing of women. Below not on a male and female donkey, or a male and female pig. Below not birds, is at the time of their mating, because it is inappropriate. It might cause some impure thoughts. But I feel even one who is full of eyes, like the Malach Hamavet, the angel of death, he's covered in eyes. Even he's not allowed to look at these type of things. Now we mentioned him, we're going to bring it up. We mentioned he's completely full of eyes meant to tell. When a person is passing away when he was sick, the angel stands above him. He has his sword out. And a drop of poison is hanging at the tip of the sword. Once the sick person sees this, he gets scared and he opens his mouth. And the angel of death throws the drop of poison from the sword into the guy's mouth. From that drop poison, he dies. From that poison, his body starts to rot. From that point as well, his face and body color changes to like that yellowish tinge of a corpse. So I have a crazy story with this that happened a few years ago. If you want to know it, text me. It is wild about the Malach HaMavet. Okay. But we see from here, regardless, that a person cannot look at a beautiful woman. So how did Rashbag look at her? Gemara says, "Keren Zavit Hava." He didn't look at her. He was walking somewhere, and she came around the corner. And when he looked up, he noticed her. That's when he praised Hashem. Okay. Next part of Tav said, "We love the you can't pray. You can't look at a colorful clothing woman. I feel even if they're just like hanging in the laundry, hanging up. You shouldn't have to be wearing it. The Gemara says, one second, that's only if you recognize who it belongs to. That's when you're going to have impure thoughts, if you know who the clothing belongs to. But if you see beautiful clothing, colorful clothing on the floor, if you don't know whose it is, it's not going to do anything. Maravad, I cannot go to prove from it. I mentioned specifically not the colorful clothing of women, but look, didn't just mention colorful clothing, nothing to do with the clothing that is colorful or beautiful. It's the fact that it belonged to a woman that you know. Shmamina. It's only applies to clothing that was previously worn. But if she just bought it and it's in the bag and she never wore it yet, you don't have anything to attribute the beauty to, then it's also not a problem. If that's the case, because if that's the case, how do you give a woman new clothing when she wants to get it fixed or cleaned? How come it's like, hey, you're looking at the clothing? Gemara says that's not a proof though. I'll give you a different proof. How come it's like basically a guy who owns animals, he helps his animals breed and he's able to physically help the male with the female. So how do you do that? Also not a look. Yeah, both are. This is just the same way that guy, the breeder, has to be doing his job. So to over here, the launderer, he's also doing his job. But this is not a proof regarding that from our case. But Hizda says we still hold like Hizda that it has to be belonging to the woman already. Marmor, we may not meant to mention that the drop of poison the guy dies. Name a plea to Rabbi Shmuel. Seemingly it's a question against Rabbi the follower Shmuel. He argues. Rabbi Shmuel, he says, Amarli, Malach told him, if I wasn't scared for Hashem's creature's honor, I would rip open the throat of a human like an animal. Seemingly he stabs, not poison. The Gemara says, no, maybe not. Maybe the poison would like be like acid and rip open the throat, but it's still he only uses poison, he doesn't use a sword. Okay, Bimena said, a person says from that drop of poison, the person's body rots. If the person does not want his body to rot, he should turn the corpse on his face immediately so that the body doesn't start rotting because the poison will stay in the mouth and not the rest of the body. Rashi mentions this only when right before death, but we're not allowed to do because we can't cause someone to die earlier by putting him on his face. So, good luck. Turn Vinishmarta mikol davarat. Pasuk says you should be careful of all evil things. A young person should not think of bad things during the day, inappropriate things. That will cause him to have emissions at night in his sleep. This is what from he says. Learning Torah brings you to zehirut, which means refraining to sin. Refraining will bring you to being avoiding to sin. Zerizut. Zerizut will bring you to cleanliness, which means you'll be free of sin. And cleanliness will bring you to perishut, which means like you refrain and self-deny yourself even things that are mutar, like extra steak, for example. Perishut mevi'al de tahara. And doesn't mean I don't eat steak, I eat steak too, it's not what I meant. But people who are on a very high level, they hold themselves back. And then self-denial brings you to tahara, level of tahara, which means you don't sin at all. Tahara mevi'al de hasidut. Tahara brings you to hasid, like you go above and beyond what Hashem wants from you. That brings a person to humility. And humility brings someone to be scared of sin, which means not scared of Hashem, but scared to even be close to sin. That brings someone to Kedusha, which that means like he's transcending the human form where he's barely a human because of such a high level of Kedusha. Kedusha Ruach HaKodesh, then he's able to get Ruach HaKodesh and power of the Shekhinah. Ruach HaKodesh that will give him the ability to bring back the dead to life. And being a Hasid is better than all of them. Shnei Pasuk says, "As dibarta behazon lahasidecha." Hashem spoke to the Hasid. Hashem talks to Hasidim. Not literally Hasidim, but people who are Hasid, which means we said before, it means like you go above and beyond what Hashem wants. Upliga Rabbi Yishmael ben Levi against question. It's an argument against Rabbi Yishmael ben Levi. Rabbi Yishmael ben Levi he says humility is the top. Hashem Elokim alav yan masha. Hashem otil b'aser anavim. Hasim lo nemar la'anavim. Mention Hasidim mentions anavim. Humility, humble ones. Halamati Hashem we call them. Therefore we see humbleness is top. Next part of the Mishnah said, "In mochriin lahem, we don't sell to the goyim things that are attached to the ground." Number 9, mochriin lahem ilan shel minat amenat lakos v'yikotzes. You could sell them a tree on a condition that you cut it, and then you have to cut it down. David Rabbi Judah said. But Meir says, "No, in mochriin lahem, I like to say you have to cut it down. You have to sell it only when it's already cut down. We don't trust them to cut it down. They might back out." Shahad amenat leizos v'gozes. You can sell them like wheat and barley that's halfway, not even halfway grown. On condition they cut it down. Remember, it says no. In they already cut it. You can sell them wheat and barley and grain that's already harvestable and then harvest it. That's going to be done. Remember, in it's still only them that it's harvested. Right. So same few cases similar cases over and over again, where the Yehuda says, just tell them you have to cut it and then make sure they cut it. And Rabbi Meir says, no, I don't trust them. Cut it for them. We need all three cases. Why? I mentioned tree, maybe only over there, Rabbi Meir would say that since he doesn't lose anything by having the tree up there, maybe he'll leave it. And you'll be all set. Therefore, he doesn't let it. But in the case of standing grain where it's harvestable, where if you leave it, it'll get ruined because it's already ripe. Maybe you'll agree to be done that it's allowed to sell it, but therefore we say that it's not. You still have Rameir still holds you can't sell. If we mentioned the two cases of the tree and the ripe grain, you might have think maybe that would allow it because there's no reason to keep it standing. But in the case of the unripe grain, maybe since there's no visible benefit to leaving it there, maybe agreed to the mayor that there's no benefit of cutting it. Maybe he'll agree to the mayor that you can't sell it. The Yeshmin Hamza mentioned those cases, but how can we remember? Well, in those cases that you're not allowed to do it because it's able to you want it to grow. In the cases where there's no benefit in leaving them like the ripe tree and the ripe grain, and maybe you'll say agree to be that it's mutar. Therefore, it's mention all three machlokets, teach you in the same machlok applies into all three cases: the tree, the ripe grain, and the unripe grain. Ibai asks a question. What's halakha regarding selling an animal to a goy on condition that you say it should be slaughtered, not for Avodah Zarah? Hatam Ta'ala the reason why we said Rabbi over there was allowed was because in the case of property, the labish to come of the mashile. Because if he's buying your grain or tree in your property, maybe over there the guy's not going to want to leave it in your property. It's in the Jew's property. Regarding animal kingdom, maybe since the goy takes the animal with him, therefore maybe you have to be more careful and you have to make him slaughter it. Or maybe you say no, it's still mutar. Gemara says Tashma bring a proof. But it says the Imam Menashe Zechot Shochei Yehuda Mirmer Ein Morchid Nal B'Shvutayim. Same exact thing. Same exact machloket over here as well. Rabbi says just tell him to slaughter it. Make sure he slaughters it. Rabbi Meir says don't sell it to him unless it's already slaughtered. Same machloket applies. Okay. Ein maskirin lehem batim be'eretz Yisrael. A person cannot rent houses to go in Eretz Yisrael because it's asur. Because we don't want going to live in there. And for sure not fields because there's two reasons why fields are not allowed. Ubesuria and in Surya. Maskirin lahem batim v'lo basudot. You can rent them houses, but not fields. Surya, which is the old Syria known as Aram Saba, was captured by David HaMelech, and he attached it himself to Eretz Yisrael. So machloket whether or not that counts as it's part of Eretz Yisrael. Therefore, it's like this gray zone Eretz Yisrael. So over there we say you could rent it, but not the fields. Ubechutz as Eretz Yisrael, mochrin lahem batim maskirin sdot. You can sell houses and rent fields. Divei Rabbi Meir according to the Meir. Rabbi Yosef says no. That is Israel maskirin lahem batim musdot. You could rent houses, not fields. But you're in fields, mochrin batim maskirin sdot. You can sell them houses and rent fields. Ubechutz as Israel, mochrin el you could sell both. After Makom Shamlu Askir, however, in a place where we said it's allowed to rent houses to goyim, lo lebetiramra, you can't give them residential for them to live. It's always a story. Because we're worried about Avodah Zarah being put in your house. Shneimar lo tavi to'eva abatecha. You can't have to'eva, which is Avodah Zarah in your house. In any case, no matter where it is, you cannot rent them a bathhouse. Because if it's rented, people know who it belongs to, right? It'll always be Moshe's bathhouse, no matter who he's renting it to. And therefore, if they're seeing people when pass by and seeing the water being heated on Shabbat, they're going to suspect him of being Mahal Shabbat. Okay, my in Tzarich Lomar Shabbat. Why we have to mention? Oh, if you rent, you can't sell houses, and for sure not fields. Why is it for sure? Once said there's two reasons why you can't do field. Because first of all, you can't give them property in Eretz Israel. And the second reason why you can't sell them a field is because rent fields because then you're removing the mitzvah of maaser. If that's the case, batim nami iktarti. So houses also should have two isurim. One, hadar chanit same as before. First one, because you can't give them land. Hadar the kamafkal and b'zav. The other mitzvah is that it takes away the mitzvah mezuzah. So how come it's different in rents? Why is it for sure fields? Houses and fields both have two isurim. The Gemara says no. The second one for houses and mezuzah doesn't apply. Mar mesharshe mezuzah hovat hadarhu. Mezuzah is only for the people who live there, and if the goy is not living there, it doesn't count. So therefore, houses is one isur of giving them property, and fields is two isurim property plus maaser. Okay. Next, Parmesan said, in Syria, you can rent them houses, but not fields. The reason why can't you sell houses in Syria? Because we're worried that it might lead to you selling houses in Israel. So that's the case. Also, you should make a gizera decree that also you can't rent them houses because that also might lead to renting houses in Israel. Says, no, the reason why you can't rent in Israel is because of gizera is a decree in the first place that it might lead to selling. We can't make a gizera on top of a gizera. We can't say don't rent houses in you don't rent houses in Syria because it might lead to renting houses in Israel, which might lead to selling houses in Israel. We don't do double gezerot. Okay. Now 1 second. Maybe you can't rent a field in Syria. 1 second. The reason why you can't rent a field in Syria is also because there's Gezerah. We do make a Gezerah there. The Rambam says no. The reason why selling a field in Syria is not the Rabbanan Gezerah, but rather it's Doraita, because Kasavar Kibush Yahid Shmei Kibush, because according to the mayor, he holds the fact that David HaMelech captured it is considered a good enough annexation to Israel, and therefore was considered conquered. And therefore, so the reason why by a field you can't do it is because there's two reasons, Maaser and land. Because therefore, Hamim say you can't. They made a decree about renting it. But in regarding houses, but there's no two isurim. There's no decree against it. Okay, but Chutz said regarding outside Eretz Israel, we said the mayor said you can sell houses but not the fields. because that might lead to selling fields in Eretz the reason why fields in Eretz Yisrael is because there's two Isurim like mentioned. Therefore, we made a Gezerah outside Eretz Yisrael. Batim Levet houses inside Eretz Yisrael, which is only one Isur. Logos we don't make a Gezerah outside Eretz Yisrael. Next, we also remember Eretz Yisrael Skil and Batim. It says you can rent in Eretz Yisrael, not fields. The Gemara says, "My time, my why?" Tell the same type of concept because fields is two isurim. Therefore, you can't. Therefore, Zera against renting houses. No two isurim. No problem renting. Okay, with Surya mentioned in Surya, you could sell. But also says you could sell in Surya, but not fields. Why? My time out. Because Savar Kivush Achi Loshme Kivush, he holds that the conquering of the Gemelch did not count as conquering. And therefore, Bisate, the Idba Tarte, in the case of a field in Eretz Israel, there's two Isurim, Kazura Banan, therefore Hami made a decree against selling it in Surya. But in the case of houses in Israel, which is only one Isur, lo there's no the Gezerah that's selling them in Syria. Israel, you can sell houses and fields by time away. Because you're selling it outside Israel, we're not worried about that taking place inside Israel. Mardam Shmuel, he says, according to the that inside Israel you could rent houses but not rent them fields. And you can't sell them houses or fields. And in Syria you could sell and rent to Goyim houses and fields, but you can't. Rent them fields, but you can't sell them fields. Amar said, as long as you don't sell multiple houses, you can't make them a neighborhood. The kama shchuna was considered a neighborhood. Tana in shchuna f'chutam shloshah bnei adam. These are for three people, three separate houses. For 1 second, if that's the case, maybe you're worried that maybe this guy will sell to one, but as a then two others will buy two others' houses. And therefore you'll be creating a neighborhood. The Gemara says, "Amar Abaye, afinan makbedinan, alifnei lefnei lo maftinan." Right? We had this concept before. Lifnei iver only applies to one way. I can't have an indirectly having where you can't place something like before someone else. Like I can't worry about more indirect people, one, two, three people selling the houses. That's not my responsibility. We'll stop here.